Hello yarn friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this beautiful and easy crochet tunic.
Hello, so the materials needed for today's video, I'm using this Gazelle extra large baby cotton. These are 50-gram balls and I did use close to 5 of them. You will also need a 5.25 millimeter crochet hook, a pair of scissors. You will also need an array of stitch markers just to hold your piece together when sewing. This is optional, and a tapestry needle. So let's go ahead and start with the tutorial.
To begin, we do want to simply start with a slip knot, and we are working in a multiple of 7 plus 1 turning chain. So if you're going to be following me along with the size small, we are going to work a total of 50 chains at the beginning. So that's going to be the 49 plus 1 for the turning chain, so a total of 50. If you do need to make this in a larger size, I would recommend going up by 7 stitches, down by 7 stitches. It just depends on what you need for the width, but this is a relatively easy pattern to change the sizing. So if you are going to follow along with me, go ahead and make 50 chains, and I will meet you back here for row 1. So to begin this pattern, we want to skip the first chain, and into the second chain from the hook, we are going to place a single crochet. We will then skip 2 stitches, and we are going to make a double crochet into the third stitch from the hook. I also have in the description box down below, there is a link on how to do this stitch pattern. So I'm just going to run through this really fast. If you guys need a more in-depth help with the stitch pattern, please go ahead and check the video out in the description box down below, and it will further describe how to make this stitch. So after you make your chain 2, you are going to chain up 1. You are then going to place another double crochet back into that same chain stitch, chain up 1, and make 1 more double crochet back into that chain space. So we have worked a total of 3 double crochets into 1 space. So this is going to be our open shell stitch. Okay, so after our open shell, we are going to skip 2 stitches. We are going to make 1 single crochet. We are then going to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3, and not into that same stitch, but in the stitch directly next to it, we are going to place 1 more single crochet. And that is going to be our stitch pattern for the first row. So we're going to skip 2 stitches, and into the third stitch we are going to place a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet back into that same space, chain 1, and double crochet back into that same space. So then we will skip 2 stitches, and into the third stitch we will place a single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the next stitch. So go ahead and work this stitch pattern all the way to the end, and I will meet you back here for row 2. Okay, so here we are coming up to our last stitch. We are going to end row 1 with a single crochet into the last chain. So row 2 and 3 will be the repeat rounds for the rest of this top. So we are going to chain up 7, 1, 2, chain up 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We are then going to turn our work. So on the rows that we chain up 6 and turn, we are always going to be working a picket stitch. So the chain of 6 counts as a triple crochet plus a chain of 2. So here we see our previous shell stitch. We have our 1, 2, and 3 double crochets. So into the top of the middle of that shell, so into the second double crochet, we are going to work a single crochet right on top of that. Now we are going to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3, and work 1 single crochet back into that same stitch, so on top of that double crochet. So we just worked our first picket stitch of this row. So now moving on, we are going to chain up 2, so we will always chain 2 in between for this round. So into this picket stitch here, we're going to skip all of this work and directly into this chain 3 of the previous row, we are going to work our open shell stitch. So now we are going to place 1 double crochet into that chain 3 space. We're going to chain up 1, put another double crochet into that same space, chain 1, and double crochet again into that same space. Okay, so now we worked our open shell stitch into the previous row's picket stitch. So we will continue to do this. I will show you a couple more times, but on the first round we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sets of shells. We will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the picket stitches plus these 2 at the end. So we will have 7 shells. I do want to make note of that. So moving on, we are going to chain up 2 and work a picket stitch into the second chain of the shell from the previous row. So into there, we are simply going to work a single crochet, chain up 3, and then we are going to single crochet back into that same stitch. Oops, excuse me. And right there, go back in there, and then we are going to chain up 2, and then we are going to work an open shell stitch into this picket. So we're going to do a double crochet, chain up 1, double crochet, chain up 1, double crochet, and then we will chain 2 and work a picket. So continue to do this stitch pattern with the chain 2 in between your shells and your picket, and I will meet you back here at the end of the row and I will show you how to do round 3. Okay guys, congratulations, we are getting down to the end of the row. So here you see we have 1 more double crochet from our previous shell stitch, and then we have our single crochet right here at the very end. So we're going to yarn over twice, and we are going to work a triple crochet into the very last stitch there. So we're going to pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Okay, so to move on to round 3, we are simply going to chain up 1 and turn our work. Just like this. So every time that we do a triple crochet at the last of the row and we chain up, we are going to chain up 1, and then we will simply single crochet back on top of that triple crochet. Now for this row, we are not going to chain 2 in between our work, so this row is going to kind of pull it together. So remember, the stitch pattern for this top is in the picket stitch of the previous row. We will work our open shell stitch. Into the shell stitches of the previous row, we will work a picket stitch. So then we're alternating between chain 2s and then not chain 2s. So in this row, we will not be chaining 2. So we're simply going to work a double crochet into that picket stitch, chain up 1, work another double crochet back into that same stitch, chain 1, and work your third and final stitch into that picket. So now we're going to skip all of this. We're going to skip the chain 2, we're going to skip this and into the second double crochet of our previous row, for our shell stitch, we're just going to simply work our picket stitch, which is that single crochet, chain up 3, single crochet back into that same stitch. Okay guys, so go ahead and continue to do that. Just skip over everything and work your open shell stitch or a picket stitch, whichever stitch you need to be working. And I will meet you guys at the end and I will show you how to turn your work, and then we will go ahead and repeat this pattern. So go ahead, I'll meet you back at the end of round 3. Okay guys, so here I am at the end of row 3 and I am at my chain 6 space. So we're simply going to count 1, 2, and into the third stitch, third chain from the hook. You'll have 1, 2, and 3 going up, 1, 2, and into the third over. We are simply going to work a single crochet. Okay, so now we are going to chain up 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Go ahead and turn your work. And into the top of the shell stitch, we are going to work our picket stitch. So single crochet, chain 3, single crochet back into that same stitch. And then remember, when we are doing the chain 6, this is when we want to be chaining in between our stitches. So now that I worked that picket stitch, I'm going to chain 2 and go ahead and work my open shell stitch into the previous picket stitch row. And then when I get done with this, I will go ahead and chain up 2, skip my let's see, 1 and 2, and then I will make my picket stitch. So you'll go ahead and continue that for this round, and then the next row you will not be doing the chain 2. So we are going to be working these alternate rows for a total of 20 rows. So go ahead and work a total of 20 rows, and I will meet you back here. Something I do want to mention, if you want more height for your work, you will do more than 20 rows. So if you have a longer torso and you need more length for your top before you start adding your arms, you will want to do more rows. But just remember that we are going to be adding more length to this. So we want this to go from about under your bust down to however long you want. So go ahead and do that amount of length. For me, I'm going to do 20 rows, and meet me back here. Okay friends, so here we go. I have gone ahead and done my rows, and a real quick trick I want to show you guys, if you are following along with my size, if you need to make this longer to have a longer torso, go ahead and add as many rows as you would like, as long as you stop with a chain 2 space row, because what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and start the sleeves. But a real quick trick that I wanted to show you guys is if you count up the sides where we make the triple crochet or your chain 3, whichever side, you'll see that we kind of have these gaps. So if you go ahead and count up the gaps, if you're following along with my size, you will have 11 gaps on both sides before starting your sleeve. So let's go ahead and start the sleeves. Alright, so if you are following along with me, you will have the chain 2 spaces is the row that we are on right now. So here I have my chain 2. I'm going to put my treble crochet, my triple crochet right there in that last stitch like we've been doing. And instead of chaining up 1, turning and working a single crochet back into that stitch, what I'm going to do is simply chain up a multiple of stitches. So for me, I'm going to chain up 22 stitches. And so that'll be a multiple of 7. So again, remember we are working in multiples of 7, so 7, 14, 21, and then I'm going to do an extra stitch because I am going to tie off and cut. So let's go ahead and do that. If you would like longer sleeves, do another multiple of 7. If you want to do shorter sleeves, or if you don't want to do any sleeves at all, that is up to you, but just go ahead and add or subtract by 7. Okay, so here I have gone ahead and done my 22 stitches, so that's 21 plus an additional stitch because I am going to be cutting my yarn and tightening this up on that first stitch and simply making a small little knot. So then we want to go ahead and just walk our way back over to the other side. And right here we are going to find the chain 3 or this chain 6, and we are simply going to go into that chain space, and we are going to want to grab our yarn and attach on this side. So I just, if you would like to make a slip knot and attach that way, you can, whichever way you feel most comfortable attaching to your project. Okay, so there I have chained up 1, 2, 3. So you want to go ahead and continue to do this on the other side. And again, you want to add that multiple of add the one at the end because we are going to turn. So do not cut off after you make your chain stitches on the opposite side. If you're following along with me, go ahead and chain 22 and I will meet you back here. Okay, you guys, so I went ahead and I chained up 22. So just like we did at the beginning of this pattern, we're going to skip the first stitch and into the second stitch from the hook, we are going to work a single crochet. So this is beginning the sleeves. We're going to skip 2 stitches and into the third, we are going to work our open shell stitch, chain 1, double crochet, chain up 1, double crochet, and then we are going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and into the third we're going to work that single crochet, chain 3, and we are not going to work back into that same stitch. Remember, we're working the first row, so into the stitch directly next to it is where we want to place the second single crochet for the picket stitch. So go ahead and continue your stitch pattern from the beginning, working an open shell and a picket stitch. Remember not to go back into that same space that you worked your first single crochet. Go ahead and do that over here to the end, and I'll meet you back here when we get to the very end of this corner of the sleeve, and then you will go ahead and work all the way back. Okay, you guys, so as you see here, I have just worked a shell stitch and I have a few stitches left. So I do want to finish by doing 1 picket stitch, and we can just do that in directly over the triple crochet of the previous row just to kind of pull this in a little bit tighter. Chain up 3, go back into that same stitch, so we will not be skipping. So there's our picket. So as you see, now we have a picket here from the previous row. We are simply going to work our double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and you will want to go ahead and continue to work your normal stitch pattern. Remember, since we did the chain 2 of the previous row, we are not going to do that. We're simply going to work all the way across, and I will meet you back at this edge to quickly show you, how to get across that. Okay, you guys, so as you see here, I've worked my open shell stitch, and right here on top of the triple crochet is where we're going to work our first picket stitch. So we're going to single crochet into there, we're going to chain up 3 and single crochet back into that space, and then we're just going to go ahead and skip these, and right here into the third chain from the hook we're going to start our stitch pattern with the open shell stitch. So double crochet, chain up 1, double crochet, chain up 1, double crochet, all into that third chain from the hook, and then you will chain up 1, skip 2 stitches, and continue on with the stitch pattern. Go ahead, do that. I'll meet you back here. Okay, so at the very end of the row, we are going to end with a single crochet and not a picket stitch. So go ahead and chain up 1, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. we are now going to turn our work and work our normal stitch pattern. So now as you see here, we have the sleeves beginning. So again, if you wanted these longer or shorter, you can go ahead and do that, but this is for one of your panels. So we are going to continue to build our height. So I did go until I had a total, I believe, 10 rows. So I had 10 of these, or excuse me, 5 of these little boxes on the corner side of my sleeve for my front panel. I'll go ahead and show you guys that. So I went ahead and I did my rows. I did 10 rows. So then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 boxes if you count up the side of my sleeve. So go ahead and continue to work your rows. If you need this longer, if you have, need wider arms, you can go ahead and do that. Something I do want to add in the beginning when we made this panel for the lower part of our torso, the more rows we make, the higher up it will go on our chest as well. So if you need wider arms and it to be longer as well, just continue to make more rows here in the sleeves and it'll add more height to the rest of your project. So go ahead, if you are following along with me, go ahead and work 10 rows for the sleeves, alternating the 2 stitch rows, and I will meet you back here to show you how to finish off and assemble this amazing top. Okay, so here I have gone ahead and completed my 10 rows. So if you count on the side, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of these little spaces. So now what we want to do is go ahead and single crochet all the way around. So I'm going to show you how many stitches to do here and how to do on the flat sides without these open on the edges, and then I will leave you guys to go ahead and single crochet all the way around. We are going to do 3 single crochets in each of the corners that we have here, so let's simply go ahead and get started. So something else I do want to add is we want to end on a row that we do not have chain spaces. So we are simply going to work down this way. So I'm going to chain up 1 and I'm going to work 1 single crochet right back into that same space. And along the holes on the edges, we are going to work 3 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And right here you see we kind of have a space. We're going to work 1 there. Oops, kind of broke my yarn there, split it. Okay, so we're going to work right into that 1 space. We're going to work 1 more over this double crochet, so we'll have 2 in between each of the chain spaces. So now we'll go ahead and work 3 more single crochets into that chain space, and then I'll work 1 single crochet right here, and then 1 single crochet right here. So this is how we will work along all the edges that have the chain 3 spaces or the triple crochets. So go ahead and do this. I will meet you at one of the spots that does not have the chain spaces that we are simply going to work over. Okay, so I have made my way to the edge. Now I'm going to work down the sleeve and down the side here. So what I want to do is put 2 more single crochets. We're going to put 1 more right there, and right where we had began, we're just going to go ahead and put a single crochet right there. All right, and so now we're just going to simply single crochet across the edge here and all the way down. We will put, another extra crochet, single crochet in the corners just to work our way around. So we'll want to have like 3 to work all the way around. And then when we work our way back up to the top here, we are simply just going to work across the top. So we will do 1 single crochet into each of the double crochets, and then into the chain spaces we'll do 1. So we will still be working 3 and then 1. So we'll still keep that consistent all the way across the top. So go ahead and work your way all the way across, just doing a single crochet all the way around your work, so that we have something to connect our front and back panels. So when you get done doing this, go ahead and make a second panel, because we will need 2 of these, and then single crochet all the way around. I will meet you back here for the next part, and I will show you how to put it all together. Hello yarn friends, thank you for joining me today. Welcome back. This is part 2 of this cardigan. I will be showing you how to make the sleeves and to put your front and back panels together. If you have not yet already done so, please make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. If you need to take a look at the first part of this video, please make sure to check the description box down below or hit the little box above here, and it will take you to part 1 of this tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started on the sleeves. Okay, so now that I have both of my panels done, I have single crocheted around all the edges, I have put my front and my back panels together, and I have just went ahead and placed some stitch markers along the edges where I'm going to be sewing. Right here for the sleeve, I did leave an open portion where I am not going to crochet along. I am going to make sure that it is connected right here at the corner, and I'm going to connect it at the top. But I am going to leave this open portion at the top. I will crochet all the way around the bottom, leaving the open armholes. Here at the top, I have placed my 2 markers where I want my neck hole to be, and then I went ahead and placed markers in the center of the armpits along down to the side. So we will leave this open. So you simply want to pick a corner that you're going to start at. I believe I will start right here in the corner. We will go ahead and grab our tapestry needle and the same yarn that we used to make this, cut off quite a long bit for sewing, and let's go ahead and get started. To begin the sewing process, I'm going to do most of this off camera, but I am going to go ahead and show you guys how I attach for sewing. So I'm simply going to go through all the way and draw up to the end of my bit here, and I'll go ahead and make a knot or 2. Make sure that it's very secure here at the beginning. And then I'm simply going to do, I believe it's called a whip stitch all the way through. So you can go back and forth, or you can, however you choose to sew this. So you want to make sure that you are sewing this on the wrong side. So you want to make sure that you turn your work inside out, having the outside that you want facing out, and the work that you want people to see on the inside as you do this. So go ahead and work all the way around your piece. You will start in one corner, work all the way down, tie it off. I'd start up at the other side and work your way back around. Go ahead and attach at the corners, or if you would like to sew all the way at the top, then you would just attach here and work your way over. I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial today. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and hit that subscribe button and notification bell to get notified when I release new tutorials.